And I wouldn't say that I actively do everything that they told you to do in the book after I read it, but just waking up in the morning, I usually set 3 goals that I want to accomplish for the day. Every month, I revisit a goal sheet that I have. So I have a sheet with just all my long-term goals, and I revisit that at the end of every month. And then, but that's kind of what keeps you on track. It's really easy to get burned out and lose sight of what your ultimate goal is. But once you have those on writing and you can refer to them and you revisit them often, it just sticks back in your mind and makes it kind of the mindset of like, there's no way that I'm going to fail at accomplishing this as long as I just keep going. But if you don't have that established and you don't see that, it makes it more difficult to build a plan to reach a goal.
So I'm going to put you on the spot. You had a great first year. What's your second year goal?
Second year goal is to double the number of transactions. I think the most important thing is that I've calculated the amount of money that I need to get to the number of properties that I need for my own rental holdings. So I need to hit about $800,000 in commission in the next 5 to 7 years. So you can back calculate from that, but the next year would probably be anywhere between $80,000 and $120,000 in commission in my pocket, and then doubling the number of transactions.
What about the 5-year plan? What's your 5-year plan?
5-year plan?
Yeah.
5-year plan is what I just said. Probably, I need to make enough money to buy my 40 doors. That's the plan. So however much that is, that's the goal that I need to hit. My own personal portfolio hitting 40 doors, which would be number of units of rental properties. And to do that, I probably need somewhere between, I don't know, it depends on how the financing works on them, but I have like $800,000 that I probably need.
I guess it depends on how you do it, right? You could just go out and buy a 35-unit building and you'd be there, right?
That's true too. Gotta find a 35-unit building.
Yeah, I mean, my original goal was to have 25 units by the time I was 40, and I did that before I was 30, so yeah. I kind of had to reevaluate there, and what do I do now? And I think you're going to notice that too. I think you'll hit that probably quicker than you want, and then that's going to be a good thing.
Yeah.
And then from there you can build on that.
But the thing is once I hit that, that basic income from the rental units, then you can start to be a little bit more picky in the clients that you work with. Because it's like then instead of just anybody that comes in, you're like, oh yeah, I'll help you. And you're just jumpy, like, I'll help you. You can start to be a little bit more selective. Sometime in the next 2 years, I'd like to bring in another person to help with things. Whether that's bringing enough money to bring my fiance on as like part of a team or something like that. I think that the most efficient way to do this would be to have somebody bringing in leads and then somebody closing the leads. At least that makes sense in my brain. I don't know.
Okay, so earlier you talked about your mentor in the business, which was Alex Deacon. Now, this doesn't have to be the mentor in the business, but everybody has a mentor, whether in business or in life. So who is your mentor and how did they help you?
So in real estate, it's been Alex, and just having somebody that, looking at deals with him and just seeing how he looks at a property. It's not always the same way that I see it, but if I look back on most of the times we've talked about something, he's usually right. So, unfortunately, I hope he doesn't listen to this podcast.
I don't need to make his head any bigger, right?
Yeah. But, and then just having him available to ask questions to and get his insight, you learn from those sorts of things. But then there's been plenty of mentors that I've had in the industry, like Cindy Rack with Keller Williams was the person who brought me over there. I learned a ton at the beginning from her, just asking her questions too. It's really just somebody to bounce ideas off of. But I think that the thing that's important is also sort of offering them something back to. In the case of being on a team like I was with Alex, obviously there's some kind of sharing of income, so you're offering that back, right? And then with Cindy, the way that kind of approached her was, I said, hey, I don't know that much about the industry, but let me help post things on your Facebook or do something like that. So then just offering something back that lets them know that you value them and value their time as well. Mentor in life has just been my parents mostly. I mean, they're both, my dad, I guess, is kind of where I got sort of the investment mindset. Not really because he necessarily does it, but just because he knew that he should have earlier. So growing up, all I heard all the time was like about investing your money, budgeting, saving. I don't necessarily agree with everything that Dave Ramsey says, but he's a big Dave Ramsey fan. So I was basically indoctrined with pay down your debt, don't carry that much debt, unless it's real estate debt, which I kind of modified with, because real estate debt makes you money, but you don't want the credit card debt, you don't want the other things. So just life planning, I think both my parents have been kind of my mentors to value, experiences in life and not just things. So that kind of sets you up for doing whatever you want to do. Like, because we don't have that much debt, we don't have that much holding us back, my fiance and I can have the flexibility to quit my job and start doing real estate, which is what I like the most. So,
well, it's great that you said your parents. I mean, I really think that how you're raised has a huge effect on the person that you are.
Right.
I'm trying to instill things into my kids too. Like my daughter says she wants to be a bed maker when she grows up. So I said, hey, you can do that as long as you own the hotel that you're making the beds in.
It's true.
So
it's true. The employees respect somebody who really gets their hands dirty. So if you're out there making beds in your own hotel, that's the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do you balance work and life?
Not well. I think the thing that I've gotten better at, because initially it was like always having my phone. The thing that I'm trying to get better at is I actually bought another phone just for the real estate stuff. Is like separating that. So as I separate those contacts, what I've done is I take my phone and at a certain reasonable hour of the night, I set it down in a different room and I tell everybody, or I'm going to start telling people, if it's an emergency that we need to talk about, call me on my personal cell phone. But if it's just to talk about some random thing that you were thinking about, just shoot me an email. I'll respond to your email. It'll be really easy. Or we'll set up a call for the next day. But just kind of setting up a little bit of those boundaries. I coach ice hockey too, so obviously when you're on the bench or on the ice, you can't be staring at your phone. There's kids there that you're trying to help. But, that's kind of what it is a little bit, just setting up some separation.
Yeah, I've definitely tried to do some of that myself. It's tough, though. I mean, it is. It's something that you have to, you really have to practice, and you have to do things the right way. And for the sake of my marriage, I try and put the phone away from time to time. And
I think it's because you want to serve your customers as good as you can, or as well as you can. That's kind of what that and your goals drive you. So you're like, if I'm not responding to them, then they're just going to find somebody else. If I'm not responding, then they're just going to find somebody else. But you still have to take time for yourself. I mean, even though it's been difficult.
What does retirement look like for you?
Retirement for me is kind of the obsession goal right now. So retirement for me looks like a number of properties. I have my, stock portfolio as well that I contribute to. What retirement looks like to me, though, is kind of having that and working as much or as little as I really want to. So I'll probably, they're ultimately your clients, but you meet some people, I think, that you work with that just become more like friends than even clients that you talk openly with. So it's fun to work with those people. So retirement probably looks like having all the investment holdings and then working with the people that are easy to do business with. Because I don't think I could really just 100% stop. I think I'd go crazy. But it'd be nice to not be as busy as I am right now.
Absolutely. I mean, it's one thing to to still be working, but you want to enjoy working, right? So I'm the same way. I have a lot of good friends that I've made, starting by selling real estate, and then they became friends after that. Some of them became partners. It's pretty cool how that works out. Mm-hmm. So we're going to enter into the final round where I ask the same 5 questions to everybody. So you should know what's coming to this, even though you didn't know what was coming to the rest of it. What is your favorite technology tool?
My favorite technology tool is probably actually my first client introduced me to it. It's called Asana. It's just a project management software. So you sign up, and the way that I use it is I add all the tasks in the closing with all my recommendations for inspectors, everybody into it. So then it really reduces the amount of questions that you get from customers that are like, when is this due? When is this due? When is this due? Or where do I send this? Or who do I call for this? All you do is set up an Asana task, and it's all right there. So it helps them because they don't have to call you or text you. They just look. And it helps you because now you're not inefficiently dealing with those things. So that's been a great tool for me.
How much does that cost?
I think if you have less than so many people on it, it's free. It's just, you have to make sure that there's nothing personal stored on there, because if you set up like your projects, they're public to the group. So I always tell my people, like, this is just tracking. It's not, don't post your bank statements or your whatever. Keep that to your secure portal. But for the first however many, it's free. And then after that, I don't really know how much it costs because I haven't had to exceed that.
Because you don't spend money.
I spent a little bit of money. I spent money on a phone. That was good. Spent money on DocuSign because it made signing way less stressful.
Okay, yeah. So you spent a little bit of money. And by the way, the National Association of Realtors gives us a discount off of DocuSign. So.
That's true. That helped. Spent money on the Bigger Pockets Pro membership. Spent money there.
There you go. What is your favorite real estate book?
My favorite real estate book, I think there's two. One is the book on negotiating real estate. I think it's by like Jay Scott and Mark Ferguson and Carol Scott. I think that it just really helps me, look at. They talk a lot about how to find somebody's minimum acceptable offer through information that's available online and questions that you can ask them to try to get to that. So whenever you're working with a buyer, it really helps you try to find out what you can actually offer. When you're working with a seller, it helps you to learn what the other person's trying to figure out so that you can kind of work opposite of that a little bit. And then another one would be, it's called Never Split the Difference, which is also a negotiating book that I thought just had comes from a little bit of a different angle, but there were some techniques in there that were pretty interesting.
Well, I don't think I've read either of those books, so I'm going to have to put them to my Audible list.
Yeah.
If you were not an agent, what would you be?
I
guess we kind of already know that.
I don't know. I guess right now it's quality assurance for a pharmaceutical company. I probably would just continue down science, I suppose. If I never got into sales, I probably would have just went the PhD route in science. But if I wouldn't be a salesperson, it'd probably be something in science, a scientist of sorts.
What is your favorite hobby?
My favorite hobby, I really do like backpacking, so I like being outside. And then I also am really into ice hockey, so I coach ice hockey. I play on 2.5 teams. When I'm not coaching, I play on 3. When I am coaching, I play on 2. So I played my whole life, so that's kind of the two hobbies that I pursue.
What is your dream vacation?
My dream vacation is probably going to a country where I don't know anything. Like, I don't know the language, I don't know anything like that. And I just try to live there for a year and learn as much as I can about the people that are there and the culture and everything of that nature. Wouldn't really matter what country it is as long as I don't know that much about it.
Okay.
That threw you off there.
Not the answer I was expecting. Well, Tony, I was excited that you agreed to come on the podcast. I really was excited to get the opinions and views from somebody new to the business, and you've had a really tremendous first year. And not only am I glad to have you on this podcast, I'm glad to have you as a part of our company. So thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, Realtor Nation, another great interview. I hope you got as much out of it as I